Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Maryjane. Before we get started, a few words from our sponsors. I've got some exciting news to share. Did you know that you can have your hemp products tested in Maryland? I just sent over a new CBD product that I want to test to Atlantic Test Labs. Testing is safe, simple, and accurate with Atlantic, and you can find out more about having your hemp products tested by visiting atlantictestlabs.com and receive 10% off by using the code MJTalks10. Do you suffer from pain or chronic illness? Do you feel like you've tried everything with no results? If this sounds like you, James Highland, a holistic lifestyle coach, can help you. He works with people who've been suffering for decades up to newly diagnosed individuals. As a client of James for the last year, I have personally been a witness to the transformative work that he's been able to do with people. I started working with him to help with some food issues I was having, and within 3 months I was able to completely change my diet, get my blood work and my blood sugar back to normal. You can take back your health today by visiting James on Facebook or on Instagram and emailing him at james@sparkvisionnow.com. And last but not least is Pure Life Wellness. They're my hometown dispensary. You will catch me there every Tuesday for Industry Day to receive 25% off your purchase if you're a cannabis or restaurant or hospitality worker. Stop in to Pure Life today at 35 East Cross Street at the heart of Fed Hill. Now on to the show. Hey everyone, it's Jill Franquelli and welcome to Conversations with Maryjane. Today, I'm very excited to have guest Gwen and Will Parks with us from Saucier Willy. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. So I'm just going to dive right in. How did you two meet?
Work?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the kitchen, actually.
In the kitchen.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So it was
scandalous.
Started from the beginning.
Yeah. Where were you guys working then?
Wegmans in
Wegmans?
Valley. Yep.
Okay. Instant attraction.
For me,
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't even realize I was stuck in a cut room cutting vegetables and fruits when she claims to have seen me, and I don't ever recall noticing her. I had to be stuck in this box of a room and cut up fruits and veggies for like all the departments that were prepared foods in the beginning, and I never got to see the light of day for the most of the time I was in there.
So
Yeah.
all you saw was fluorescent lights. That's it.
So
Yes.
how did this happen then?
So the walk-in that we have, you had to walk all the way through the entire prepared foods department just to get to the walk-in. And you had to go past cut room, and he's back there cutting. I'm like, oh man, I could make some nice babies with him. Mind you, I didn't want kids or be married at that point, but that was the thought.
I know you're a planner, Gwen. I know it.
Right. Started from there. But eventually I ended up getting moved. She was in the Walkery department doing all the Asian cuisine.
Ooh.
And I ended up getting moved into that department, and she was actually the person that was there to train me from the start. So it kind of began from there, and she wanted to kind of hang out with me all the time, and I kept just saying, no, I'm not interested in hanging out with. I would always go and hang out with my guy friends and just go to the bars, and she wanted to tag along, and I never let her, and then eventually we let her come, and then I guess things started happening from there. Yeah.
They let him.
Yeah, we let you.
I'm just watching your reaction to the story that Will's done.
She has great reactions.
She does. So, who asked who out on the first date?
It's probably her.
Yeah?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't really say
You
we had
kept
a first
asking to
date.
come out with
but
me,
that
so I
wasn't a
guess-
date. I just wanted to hang out because I thought you were fun and your friends were fun.
It was probably you.
Well, we can go with that. It's fine. I'm down with that.
It's a mutual decision. Okay, so you guys met. How long before Saucier Willy became after that?
Well, we met in 2009, and Saucier Willy didn't start till around 2015, really, like in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I read that it was actually Gwen who pushed to do this. So
Yeah.
talk me through that. Like, what was that
Well,
like?
in my family, we are all, there's pockets of us that have entrepreneurial, like, you know, genes, so to speak. So I've
Tendencies.
always wanted to be, I was like, I gotta do something. I don't know what I want to do, but I gotta do something. So, you meet people and you log them in your brain. Okay, maybe you one day for something, I don't know what, and maybe you for something, I'm not sure. And I was just like, I don't know what I want to do, but I'd like to be a part of it one day. And he thought I was joking. He thought I was nuts.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, one day he's like, oh, well, make this hot sauce. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let me try it. I'm like, so you're not going to sell this because why?
Yeah.
And she had mentioned these ideas to me when we were not even dating at the time.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I have this idea. I want to own like you wanted to be a part of like some resort in the Virgin Islands. That's where her family's from. And run it with somebody. And she had mentioned like, oh, if you're ever interested, I like she liked the way I work, I guess. And other things, obviously, but in her mind that she had going on. But, and so, so her passion from that kind of, before I even really knew her, she had mentioned something like that. So it always, I guess, has been with her for a long time.
I mean, I think, in my opinion, finding the right partner in life is instrumental to business success.
Oh, yes.
Right? Like, I think, especially in entrepreneurship, when your partner's in life, it adds like an extra layer to that as well.
Yeah, the dynamic, it can be crazy if you don't know how to work within the system. You can get caught up in feelings, and a lot of people can't. I've heard people say I could never work with my wife, or vice versa, and so yeah, it definitely could have its challenges. I can see that.
I mean, I knew I wanted you guys to be on the show when we were at Blair's brunch a few weeks ago, where you guys demonstrated.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where I got to probably see Gwen and Will, not Saucier Willy.
Sure.
Right? And so it was over French toast and how quickly they were being made.
Yeah.
And I thought for a second, I was like, oh my God, that's Colleen and I, because we work together. And I just thought it was so interesting to see you guys do something so public facing and working and doing it well at the same time. I mean, I recall the first meeting that Colleen and I did together. We don't do meetings together anymore. Like, poor Peter. I'm sorry, Peter, that you had to be a part of that. But it was literally like two captains going at it in front of someone else. So what are some tips? Like, what do you guys have gone through, and some things that you've kind of learned on the other side of working together? Listen to Gwen's number one. I know that.
Yeah, because in the beginning, like, I remember our first farmer's market we did. We stayed up all night getting labels done and just going, like, this was a huge thing for us. It was like our first time, like, with Saucier Willy doing it in public and at an event or anything. And I remember when we first started up, and she has a great sales background. I didn't really have that at the time. And I mean, I was just kind of standing under the tent and just like, okay, no one's really coming up to us. And I didn't really have that outgoing approach like she does.
Yeah.
And she's very critical, and I like it. And at the same time, at first, it's like a sting, but at the end of it, I really like it because it definitely like keeps me in check. But in the beginning, it was hard to kind of take some of that criticism because I was getting pissed off, and I don't really take it too easily at times. So it was difficult in the beginning. It's definitely an adjustment to get used to, for sure.
Well, I'm sure being in the Navy, you direct.
Yeah,
like in a directive
for me,
way,
it's
right?
More because from that, it's like in the military, you work with your friends. Your bosses are your friends.
That's true.
There's a very thin line between fraternization and not. So you have to set those boundaries. So that's the first thing that Will and I did. I'm like, look, I will make sure that I preface things like, okay, wife hat is on. I'm talking to you like a wife. And then I'm like, okay, business hat is on. I'm talking to you as a business person. You cannot, it's very difficult, but you have to separate. If you don't separate, you're going to always have problems. So the beginning was just constant. Like, like the first event we did, I think, what was that? The Sykesville Harvest Festival or
the
something?
Wine Fest, maybe.
Festival? Yeah. Oh man. So we were there and we were just, you gotta set it up like this, and it was raining and like all the boxes got wet. It was nuts. And then everything went well. It was fine. Then next year we come back and there's older couple. It was their first event what they were doing, and it was the same exact thing. And you see the wife's yelling at the husband, and the husband's like, and it was pretty funny. So it is a learning process, but once you learn to separate it, it gets much easier.
So in the beginning, when you didn't separate it, what was that like? Coming home after a hard day of work.
For him, it was horrible. For me, I have always been able to separate it from like, get over it, be done, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like you hold on to some of those hard feelings, and it's like, it's hard to not translate it into your actual relationship after you've been with that person throughout the event all day, and then you're back home and it's just like, damn, well, I was just getting bitched out all day, and like, I don't want to talk to you right now. Like, so in the beginning, it was difficult, but once you work with the person more and more, and you understand their tendencies, and you respect their tendencies, you know how they are, and you work within that system. As long as you can do that and work cohesively, you'll be fine.
Yeah, kind of like finding out what your lane is,
Yeah,
right? So, yeah, I mean, Colleen and I have found that we have very specific, this is what she does, this is what I do. And you may dip a toe over here just to find out what's happening, but get back over there because this is my lane.
And that was tough for me too in the beginning because I definitely felt like I could do everything. And I eventually realized that she was smarter than me in certain areas, and it took me a while.
So you'll have this forever.
It's
All
great.
these statements he says.
It took me a while to just back off and then just let her do it. I guess it was a battle within my own mind for those time periods. But once I just backed off and let her handle what she obviously knows more of in those areas than me, it was a lot more easier.
So how does it divide out? What do you guys do? Like which is which
so
roles?
As of now, like Will pretty much does everything.
Yeah.
The way it started out, so like hot sauce and spreads, that's his wheelhouse. You know, I don't ever want to formulate any of those. No. They're way too temperamental. The science is so temperamental. I do the syrups and the seasonings. However, we come together when we do them and figure out what we're going to use, flavorings, pairings, all that stuff, what it'll be good for. And we always try to replace things that we currently use. So I'm like, what are we replacing with this?
Yeah.
So that's how that usually comes about.
And then how about on the business side of things? Are one of you
On
more
the business
marketing, one
side?
more sales?
I told him in the beginning, I was like, I did social media when social media first started becoming a thing. I hated it then. I was good at it. I refuse to do it now. Will does all the social media. So I feel bad sometimes when I meet people in public. I was like, I don't know. I don't have an Instagram. I don't know anything.
I know, I've asked you for yours.
I was like, nothing. So he does all the social media. He's great with the marketing. He does all of that. I set up the website and finagle that on occasion, and that's pretty much.
And I do, I usually say, like, she's the brains, I'm the brawn, because I do all the making of the products, handling finances, that whole realm of everything for the business and the marketing. And like she said, she's not able to do anything really like she could in the beginning, unfortunately. So I've taken on a lot more responsibilities since we started. But it's definitely been a learning process, and it's been good for me because it's helping me get into areas that I was uncomfortable with in the beginning and just having to force myself into them now and getting better at it.
Yeah, because I would always say, you're not dumb. You can do this. Let me show you how to do it. But it's more so getting out of your comfort zone. You know, that's the problem. You're stuck in your comfort zone. You can still learn. There's other things. I know you can do it. Let me show you how. Or is there a different way? Yeah. You know, so that's kind of where we're at now, is more trying to morph what we can physically do with what we want to do, you know?
Which is very different from couples who don't work together, because there isn't a lot of times in couples who have separate jobs where someone's showing someone how to do something in such detail. Like, I may teach you how to do laundry, but what's that, once in a lifetime, and then you kind of go on, where this is a constant, like, humbling. I've got to take what they're saying because they know better, especially I feel like I'm like you, Will. Like, I like to think I know everything. Yeah. And so it's very hard to humble myself. Yeah. To be like, oh, okay, somebody knows better.
And that's, it's a learning process, but it helps. It's better for you and you grow as a person, I feel like, when you can realize that.
Yeah, but it takes a lot on the other end as well. I know Colleen might have the same feelings, but for me, with Will, I want him to take the initiative to want to do something. If I mention something, maybe this will be a good idea, or maybe, he would come up with something else that is completely different. But it's always been like, this is yours, this is your baby. What do you want to do? What is it how can I help facilitate the stream that you have? So for me, it's more like, let's build him and figure out what he wants to do. So because I'm not going to be able to do this, but I can help facilitate you doing it. So that's pretty much how it's changed a little bit, but
Let's
think
talk
from
about
the opposite
that more
side,
a little bit, like why now you can't do the same things that you did before. Yeah,
so for me, health has been a interesting roller coaster ride. It was pretty much the peak of health, went into the Navy and ended up developing some allergies and some other things that weren't really problematic then. Had a fall and then ended up with a back injury. Needless to say, having atypical pain responses to things necessarily wasn't a red flag, but that developed later into many different things. So I ended up having like interstitial cystitis, PTSD, migraines, fibromyalgia. And then recently, all that's rolled into one, and now they know what it is. It's systemic mastocytosis. So it's a very rare disorder where everybody has mast cells in their body, and that's your immune response. So your mast cells come out and go with the big guns. Hey,
get rid of it.
Get get out of there. You get this, you get out of there. So if it's an allergic response or a virus, bacteria, whatever. So my mast cells, there's too many of them, and they're not playing nice. So that's causing me to have way more allergic reactions and stuff like that. So not being able to have the food intake that I normally have, or be able to physically do things because of the different issues based on that, it's just hard. So a lot of it has become me relinquishing the things that I was really gung-ho about doing, and then trying to teach him to do these things so he can now do them because I can't.
So I watched this happen with my parents, right? My mom got more and more sick, and my dad ended up, being more and more of a caregiver for her. So we talked about your business relationship and how that goes. How is this, right? This is a different change in your relationship as you become more unable to do things and you're picking things up. How do you guys handle that?
It's
difficult.
Yeah,
we are still navigating.
Yeah, it's a
well,
ride,
I'm glad,
for
because
sure.
there's people. So
because when I first met her, she, she could do a lot of things. Like physically, she was
go hiking for hours.
Yeah, she was normal. Like for the most
path,
part, we could do, anything. But now, her body has just gotten to where it is at this point, and it's rough. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the times I'm stuck taking care of all the kids a lot, and household chores, and then the business as well. And, there's never really any time for myself, but, I don't know. It's hard. It's definitely hard for sure.
Yeah.
He's a rock star in that area.
I think illness and sickness like this, having been a child of watching parents do this, I have extreme empathy because I watched my parents try to navigate as one couldn't do more, and then one had to take it off. And I also watched all their missteps and all the things that actually I think at the end, maybe they weren't lovers anymore, right? Because it had totally switched over to a caregiver and someone who was sick. Yeah.
Will and I have had that conversation too, and I'm like, look, it comes to a point for the one that's sick where you're like, you know what? You are my caregiver, and I have to accept the fact that I need a caregiver.
And it took a long time for her to come to that.
Very long time, because let's be honest. When we bought our house, I was like, all right, we're gonna gut it and stud it ourselves. I'm gonna fell all these pine trees, and we're gonna have this step garden, and we're gonna. Let me tell you, all the pine trees are still there. The house is still in the same way it is now. So it goes from ridiculous hoop dreams to what can we accomplish today?
Yeah.
So every day is a new day, and every day is a day where we can just figure it out. And we just take things as they come, and we, make sure that, I try to make sure I'm as present as possible with the kids. It's difficult, but, that's why I always say, I have my service animals. They're like, oh, I have one. There's one right here. I have my sister and my kids. Those are my service animals. But I can go anywhere with them. I can do anything with them.
Yeah.
I need a piggyback ride up the steps. I got my Hodor right here.
Yeah.
It's good.
How have you, Gwen, handled this, emotionally and mentally?
I haven't.
Yeah.
At all. I think for me, it's been a source of denial because it happened so quick. So all this pretty much has transpired, I'd say, in the last 5 to 7 years. So being a very active child, very active adult, then to nothing. So I think after I had my first son, that's when it just took a nosedive. Because I was like, I'm going to start running again. Bought running shoes. The week after that, found out I was pregnant. That's the end of it. No running for me. So that was literally the last attempt at physical activity in earnest. And then after that, it was just yoga. And then after that, it's just stretching. And now I'm rubbing salve all over my body to do these minimal stretches. So that's the physical decline that's happened. So it's really...
And that's pretty quick, right? Is that...
Yeah, it is very quick.
I would imagine. And how long have you guys been together?
10, 11?
Almost 10 years. Almost 10 years.
Yeah. So with all of that, what do you guys do to stay lovers. You don't need to dish on that. But what things during the week do you make sure that you're still being companions in a way that's not business, that's not a caretaker, that's not a parent, when Gwen fell in love with Will?
Yeah. Well, I try to keep the humor in everything because you can't be gloom and doom all the time. Yeah, it sucks. Things suck, like the way you have to operate, and for me personally, not being able to do things with the kids, it's like a knife to the heart, But I try to be more present with Will. I try to make things light. And when you have like I'd say, once you reach a certain level of disability, you have to change what becomes sexy. You have to change what becomes a turn on because it's no longer the same.
Yeah, it's true.
I physically can't do the cool things I used to be able to do. It's not happening. So there's certain things that I'll be able to do. So sorry, I'm gonna put it out there.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. So it's just something that because we're very I'd say very silly, childlike people.
Yeah,
so
I know
I'm
that
a 12-year-old
about
boy in a grown woman's body, and I'm fine with that. So for me, I even I'll just go like this, and we'll come over, and we call them little nut baskets. He gets little nut baskets, gets a little field, and he goes on and does what he does. So that's the end of it, and it keeps him going. He's happy. So and for me, I'm like, all right, I'm down with that. So because sometimes we've gotten back to the point where just physical touch is enough.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I physically can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's anything. That's kissing. That's a massage. Whatever. I think I gave you a little massage the other day.
Yeah, you gave me that
first time in
facial with the face.
I don't know,
mask,
6 months.
Oh, I saw that actually.
Yeah.
I saw that on social media.
It's hard to be able to do those things. So
yeah.
I try to do things like that. Or if I am able to cook, I'll make sure I cook something that I know he'll like. Yeah, just little things like the touch is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And for him as well. You have to know what your partner needs. For me, I literally could have the absence of touch and be just fine.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm not
Will is like
touch is not a love language.
I'm very
of mine.
needy with touch.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
Come on. So realizing that in your partner, especially being the one that's the disabled one, it takes into account, I can't do much, but I can at least try to be more attentive to what your physical, sexual, emotional needs are versus what I need, which is bare minimum because, to be honest, once you get to this point, you're like, you know what? I just got a deal.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. No one feels sexy when they feel sick.
No, we call it dead fish.
Yeah, you
That's what we call it.
It is.
Yeah. That is, I think it's a testament. Your parents tell you it's not always about what people look like. It's not always about, you have to really go into a relationship loving everything, mentally, spiritually, because there is a moment that those things start to go away.
Oh yeah, and let me tell you, and I don't ever not say it, but I am not that deep as a person. So it was really difficult for me to lose all those things that I enjoyed doing with him,
Yeah.
So then I'm like, well, what the hell is this now?
That's
so
true.
that's figuring out what you are in the state you are in now. So that's what we're doing, and that's what I've been doing personally for the last year. I'm like, who am I now? Who is this person? Because now it's a different person. I have to figure out who this person is. And in doing so, it's like, oh, I'm still the same person. I just have a different shell.
What are some of the things you're doing to help find out who you are and then who you guys are as a couple too?
For me personally, I think it goes into why I have the emotional responses that I have to certain things. Because certain things, they don't make sense. We all have our hang-ups. We have our reasons for things that sometimes you just don't know. For Will and I, a big part of being able to come together as a couple and as business partners is therapy. I will never not recommend couples therapy, marriage counseling, whatever. Even if it's a small thing, just go, because you never know what you'll walk out of it with, And there's plenty of times where Will and I should have been done, and more attributed to the illness than anything else, because it's really difficult, for him to watch someone go through it, and then for me to then feel burdening and all that other stuff. So it's coming to terms with that, and there's really no 1-2 for it. It's more of, you have to come to that realization within yourself, okay, I am ready to accept this, or try to accept it. and then having that conversation with your partner, because I didn't honestly have that conversation with you until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, because there was a lot of friction leading up for however that took a long time for you to accept that I was your caregiver and that you needed help and that all those things. So there was a lot of friction that between that time between us, just from me trying to constantly be that caregiver and remind her of things throughout the day, just everything that involves with that, and then her just not being able to accept that and not want that and fight back from that.
Yeah, because I would make myself even more ill just, trying to push myself through things. So, and that would in turn make it worse for him as the caregiver.
Yeah.
Like, woman, would you just sit the hell down? Like, I'm going to do it. I can do it. You can't do
I'm
it.
the same person. Like, literally, I will almost kill myself when I'm sick, trying to just do when I could have just asked Colleen sitting right there, could you do this for me?
Yep.
And I just won't do it.
I put together something that was supposed to be for 2 people because, I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah.
Struggled. I did it, though. I struggled.
Yeah.
And then I slept for 4 days.
I was going to say, and then the payment, because that's what I watched with my mom, right? So she would push to a point so she could do something, and then it was days before she could ever do anything again. And
that's
so it was
definitely
like
hard.
Learning a balance, but, at the same time, maybe I would be the same way where I would go balls to the wall to do this one thing because I really wanted to do that one thing. And maybe the 4 days it took to get better was worth doing that.
Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
And I will never say it's not, because sometimes it is.
Yeah.
For me, it's always things with the kids. I will break my neck to do things with them, even if I'm not physically doing it, as long as I'm present, Mm-hmm. And that's it. And everybody else, I'm like, well, you got to take the back seat and did stuff with the kids this week. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how is it being parents and being in the cannabis industry since you've brought them up?
Well, I mean, initially, it was a little... I don't even know the right word. Not scary. Maybe a little nervousness.
You kind of wonder what people will say.
Right?
Because we don't care what people actually think about anything. So for us, I'm like, well, I don't actually care, but I want to know, and I want it to not affect my children negatively.
Correct.
So that was literally all we cared about. We just didn't want it to be negative for them.
Yeah, we live northern Baltimore County in the country on a dead-end street, and we don't really have neighbors. I mean, we have some, but they're in walking distance, but they're not right next to us. And so we're hippies ourselves, and the neighbors that we do have, most of them are hippies too. And our sons grow up outside. We teach them about nature now, and the way they see cannabis is medicine. That's all they know it is.
Yeah.
That's medicine. So they're not viewing it in any other way. I mean, of course there is, like you said, you worrying about other people and what they think. But I feel like as long as we're bringing them up the way we see the plant and the way we look at it, and that's the way they're going to see it and look at it, they can also in turn let other people know that that's what that is too. So that is reassuring as well.
Yeah, I like that you guys are just open with it. I
think. That's the best way.
I don't have
kids. If you're
kids,
not,
so
that's how you end up with the kids going to search through things and find things, because it's in the American society, we make things taboo way too much. Once you make things taboo, it's like, oh snap, let's do it. Oh my God, they told me not to do it. I'm doing it today.
That is very true.
So that's what, so we try to circumvent that by having education, and all it is, it doesn't matter what form it is, flower, concentrate, edible, whatever, it's medicine. They know it's medicine. They know where it is. They know where not to go. They know it's locked, things like that. So there's
that's
no
kind of with
real
all
thing,
medicine, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and there's no
what you
thing, and that's
teach a
what
little kid.
they have their medicine cabinet. You cannot go in here.
Yeah.
You need mom and dad to go in here. Okay. So as long as, I think that's the disconnect. There's not enough talking between parents and children about what things actually are. It's like, oh, that's medicine, but especially if you have older children that have grown up through the stigma, So sitting down with them is way more imperative than sitting down with the younger ones, because even though it's imperative for them, it's going to be normalized for them.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like little kids today. They have in elementary school. It is my friend's daughter. She has like 7 friends that either have 2 moms or 2 dads. It's not even like a weird thing for her to see that. Where
for us, it was like, oh my God,
what is happening?
Yeah. How many moms you got? You got, I want a whole bunch of dads too.
Yeah, so I think it's the same thing. Maybe 10 years or so, like it just won't even be a question of like what it is.
I know, and
you'll need children need this. I mean, people forget that you have pediatric patients that are on this medicine. Let's not forget about the kids. I'm waiting for everybody to stop forgetting about the kids,
Yeah.
And it's just something that is close to our heart just because we know there are plenty of kids we know personally that could use it that probably wouldn't be able to based on the way the qualifying conditions are and things like that now, and or the research hasn't backed it up and it's just anecdotal. However, the children that are in the program now, I really forgot what we were talking about. Done.
Oh, you're good. No, go. I actually wanted you say about
no,
kids.
I mean, like, it's gone. It's gone.
Oh, it's gone.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
She
We were
does.
just talking about
It's
kids
Swiss cheese brain.
in the program and like what I've seen, because some of the first articles that are going to be released on the website are about pediatric cannabis patients.
Yeah.
And one of them is a kid with autism. And I mean, he is violently autistic, like destroys the house, kind of like, not people, but you know, that's just what he does. Man, the change in him is, and there are good days and bad days, and it's not a cure-all. And I think that's what I have learned. And I'm sure both of you at the same time using cannabis, it can change what you need, and it's not a cure-all. But man, when you find something that works, and especially for a kid who is having those type of symptoms or whatever, man, wouldn't you do anything to make sure that they were better?
I don't care if it's one better day. That to me is a win.
Yeah, and the struggle is, especially because with the kids and they have to go to school, and then, you know, they have to deal with battling through, like you said, like specifically autism throughout school, and then they can't even take their medicine in school. So it just makes it worse for them to have to go to school and not be effective in the way they could be, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all, I think veterans and children is what will cause mass prohibition to end, because people are going to get on this because, you know, soldiers are killing themselves at massive rates because of the amount of medicine that they're on and their PTSD. And there are kids who are going to be affected for the rest of their life through bioaccumulation or tardive dyskinesia, or, you know, because they're taking all of these pills and it's just bioaccumulating in their bodies. Yeah.
That's just, that's one thing that personally, from getting off of so many pills to now just taking like the maintenance things, and you know, cannabis has changed my interaction with my family. Trying to get back to having friends again, it's been difficult, but it's
how has it done that for you?
Night and day. Like, if, in all honesty, if I would have stopped, if I stopped cannabis today, I'd be bedridden at home. And that is it. Like, there would be nothing. I would have to have someone, would have to help me bathe, have to go to the bathroom, everything. And that is the reality of the situation. When I am way more functional. I can be mentally present. PTSD is not completely, you know, on 100% of the time. But it's not a cure-all for me, but I don't really care. You know, it's like, if I can interact with my kids, to me, that is the best thing ever. Yeah. You know, if I can interact with Will, that is the best thing ever. Like, if I can have some days where I don't have flashbacks and nightmares or like extreme pain that can't make me sleep, like, to me, that's good. You know, I'll take that. Some days will be worse, some days will be better, and I'm down for either one, you know? I
mean, I think, I don't want to say like normal people, but I think people who aren't experiencing this type of thing don't realize how one good day out of a week could be an amazing gift to that individual and what those things are. Like, that is just...
Because mentally it's taxing. It's taxing to be disabled in any way, shape, or form.
I've had a shoulder injury for a year, and I'm losing my mind. And I'm having surgery on Thursday to get it fixed. I can't imagine a lifetime of not being able to use my arm the way that I want. Like, I could not fathom that.
Yeah, or being just like she's dealing with. I couldn't imagine. I don't. The crazy thing is, I don't know. Like, I always wish it, like, maybe one day I could just feel how she feels, because
don't do that, babe.
I just, because I see her,
like, I want to know.
I see her, and you know, I just can't imagine how much pain she's in every day. I just see the effects from it, and you know, I understand that, you know, if you're in pain constantly, your mood is, no one's going to be happy. Who the hell's going to be happy if they're in pain constantly?
How could you not be?
So just, if she can have some relief to boost her mood, just, you know, to make her in a happy state, and also help relieve some pain for whatever period of time it may be, and still be functional, that's, you know, it's been great.
The stigma's so gone in the house. The kids will go, Mom, you should go medicate. Go outside. I'm like, all right, cool.
I knew Colleen was seeing the benefits when one day I was just like, just not having a good day. And she's like, breathe this into your little tiny baby lungs. It'll just make you feel better.
That's good.
Thank you. My baby lungs make me
So what are some of the things, like, with your pain? Explain to me, because I want to talk about how you choose medicine. But what are some of the things that are helping you the most, in case someone's listening who has any of those things?
If you have any type of like chronic illness, whether it be mental or physical, it doesn't matter. You have to eat it. You don't eat it, you're not going to get the benefits you need.
Okay.
So for me, that I make my own oil drops, and I use those every 2 to 3 hours. I'll also do an inhalation method, either vaping or smoking. And sometimes I do actually make fully medicated meals. And for me, that's more, well, every time I do actually make food, when I can make it or when Will makes it for me, there's always lots of ingredients in there to help with inflammation, things like that. So when you have to, do more than just the cannabis. So I know a lot of people are like, do more than just the cannabis. Cannabis is great, but it has other things that can, work really good for it. Like for nerve pain, don't go drink a beer, but hops is good for nerve pain. Hops and cannabis are like kissing cousins, and they're really nice. So for me, a hops tincture with a cannabis tincture is heaven for my nerve pain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So it's more finding, for me, and when you have chronic things, finding the balance between different herbals and also different pharmaceuticals. Like you always want to go either talk to a naturopath, herbalist, your doctor, your psychologist, because things don't play well. Even down with the grapefruit. Oh, I have high blood pressure. Get grapefruit. Can't have grapefruit. Have grapefruit. What happens?
Yeah, people don't realize, like, plants interact with plants.
Yes.
So it can create big issues for someone if you're not like doing that.
Because pharmaceuticals, they all started as plants, pretty much. They just extracted this one thing and said, "Ooh, it works. Do it."
That is when I was at the Cannabis Science Conference in September. John talked about that. And he was like, we get side effects because we've isolated this one thing out of a plant.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what a pill comes from. However, why that works all together is the plant has all the other things that make the side effect go away.
Yeah.
And so it's like, full plant.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
Tea.
a true
Drink
believer.
lots of tea. Lots of tea for everything.
Yep. Those British know what they're doing.
Yep.
And then, Will, I know you have a really interesting method on how you pick flower. So what do you do when you go into the dispensary?
Well, I have to smell it first.
Yeah.
And if it, and I firmly believe it, we all have certain scents and smells or around with food or herbs or anything that we like over other things. And it's different to person because we're all different. So terpenes are huge for both of us. We never really look at the THC percentage that much. I'm more interested in the terpene content and which specific ones are in there. And so I have to smell it first. I know that if it smells good to me and I really like it, like I go to certain strains just because of their smells, like purple obeah or pink lemonade, juice. I like a lot of the purples for some reason.
Me too. I like purples and blues. Like anything with blue or purple in the name, I'm probably going to love it.
And I'm always looking for limonene and linalool and beta carotene. Did I say that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just make up the pronunciation.
So I smell it
Keep
first and
French
then
and
I
just
check
say
out the
it.
profiles
Yeah.
and then that's really what sells me. I don't really, you know what I mean? Like cookies and cream right now is a big one for me. Like that's been great for my anxiety and just keeping me like level throughout the day. So it has a nice balance of what I usually like.
What
I
are
think
some
you
of your
gotta
favorite
find your
terpenes?
favorite terps. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's and that's what we've been doing lately is trying to hone more into that cannabis sommelier type thing.
I love it.
So it's more of trying to figure out what it is that attracts you to those strains, So for me, it was like, okay, what are the things here are the strains that I like, what are the commonalities between them? And for me, terpinolene is like one of those
fan
things.
of terpinolene.
Oh, Fruity Pebble Sourdough.
I don't even know what that is.
It's
Is that it?
Grow West. I
Okay.
think.
Fruity
Yes.
It's a
sourdough.
concentrate.
No, I had a
Live
flower
resin?
too.
Oh, you had flour too?
You
Oh, okay.
can't just have one. Gotta have it all.
That's right. Give me all of
No,
it.
but that always has very high terpinolene. Mm-hmm. That and juice.
Yeah.
And they all, and then it's just now my next goal is like, all right, time to go find some identical things in other plants and like mix them all together because I don't just smoke herbs. I smoke other herbs too.
Yeah, I
Or
learned that
them as
from
well.
you the other day, and I'm like, I need to know more about like what other herbs to put in there to
Yeah,
like
lavender, mint, like anything that you eat, for the most part, you can. But you definitely should check, because some things, like just you wouldn't want to like burn certain wood in a fireplace. You wouldn't want to smoke certain herbs either.
got it.
So you like usually common ones are pretty innocuous, so you're good with those, and they're very helpful. Lavender is one of those things that I would mix a lot with the purple obeah for PTSD, and it was very nice.
Can you find all of this on your website? Like, do you have blog posts that you do?
Yeah,
your herbs.
I'm making a one for like smoking blends and stuff. But we do
I
have
think that should be a
on
class.
the website. We have awesome. I have one with just the common kitchen herbs and spices, fruits, veggies, and common uses and the terpenes that are in them.
Nice.
And I update them every so often. I'll find new things and put them up there. So and they're all anything that's scientifically backed, I'll put it up there. If it's not scientifically backed, I may say it to you in person, but I'm not going to put it on the website.
That's smart. Smart to do. So terpinolene is your favorite. We got a purple obeah, I love all of it.
Love it. Juice.
Yeah.
I think Blue Dream is good. However, I don't and another thing is CBD is one thing that people forget. You gotta have some, whether you think so or not. It's not about necessarily the modulation of the high all the time.
Yeah.
It's more so the synergistic
I agree.
properties of the two. So even if you're like, you know what, CBD isn't like the whole thing for me. It's like, unless you have a metabolizing problem or something, just get a little bit. Like the Vireo 19-1 cart, I think was one of the first ratio things I played with. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I do a 10-1 RSO. Yeah. It's just that
little bit, right? Yep. That's all you need.
Yeah, it just helps my anxiety. Even sometimes with pain, it's just interesting to me. But again, CBD and THC at the same time. I never have the effects with just one or the other. But
everything
together.
Just feels more balanced when just a little bit added into it.
Yeah. For me, it's like if I have a single pre-roll of just one strain in there, that's just all wreck for me.
Yeah.
This is just me chasing it, trying to strain, and that's it.
Mix enough. I probably should. You need to teach me your mixing ways.
She's always mixing.
Yeah.
Oh, I think if you're treating a variety of things, why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Use Tylenol for everything.
Yeah. Welcome to my house.
Yep.
Take a Tylenol. Well,
maybe it's Motrin, it's ibuprofen, 800 like candy.
I really appreciate you guys being here today, and especially sharing things that aren't so easy and things that you're going through. I know that information will help somebody, because I know there are many couples going into situations where someone is taking care of someone and they just don't know how to do it. And, here's what, from my perspective as a community member, no matter how much you may struggle, what we see is genuine love between you two. And especially in those events, we get to watch that, and that's something beautiful to see. And I appreciate you being so candid, because I know your story is going to help someone else who's going through these very similar things. So I appreciate you guys being here, and I appreciate your friendship and really everything that you do for the community, your delicious food, all your knowledge. Really, I appreciate it all.
Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. And how can people get in touch with you? Where can they learn all about everything that is fabulous with the parks?
So I definitely tell people to always follow us on social media, because that is where you're going to get the most update information of where we might be at with classes, or what we're doing, or what's just going on with Saucier Willy, period. And then always go to our website, www.saucierwilly.com, and you can find our list of events on there, as well as all kinds of recipes and blogs.
You can purchase all your sauces and everything online?
Yeah, everything can be purchased online. And we have a list of wholesalers that we currently are working with, too, that you can go and purchase certain products from them as well.
And what is your next class that you guys are doing?
The next class, what is our next class?
Oh, I don't know. We had to just change some things around.
Well, then you don't.
Yeah, we currently don't have one lined up right now, I think.
Hit us up.
Yeah, we are doing private events and classes too.
Oh, that's right. That is the big. You guys are now doing that. Maybe I will have you over for some herb rolling, and do something like that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it's something we wanted to do for a long time, and instead of just being in one setting, we'd like to come to if we can go to people's houses or outside locations and just kind of teach them side by side and help out in that kind of way as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in with Conversations with Maryjane, and we'll see you next time.